Hello, and I want to welcome you to adding and subtracting polynomials. In this video we're going to talk about how to add, how to subtract, and then how to work with polynomials that involve both adding and subtracting. So let's get started. To add a polynomial, we want to combine all like terms. Emphasis on like. Those will include terms that have the same variable or lack of variable. And then to subtract polynomials, you want to change the sign of the terms and the polynomial being subtracted, and then you combine all like terms. So let's go ahead and get started with a few examples of adding. Alright, so example A right here. We're told we just want to combine all like terms. So for this, you just want to go through, and I like to group all of the similar terms together. Similar meaning they have the same variable. See, here's something attached to an x. I like to circle it. And I'm going to go through the rest of the terms and find other stuff that has just plain x. And we set the 3x right there. And then everything else that does not have an x, I like to underline it like that. Make a little bracket. And everything that has a similar shape around it or line, we're going to add together. So 5x plus 3x. That's going to give us 8x. Okay, and then the underlining, if we add those together, 3 plus 2, that is 5. Okay, if we look at example B, we see that we have some x squares, some regular x's, and then some numbers that have no variable attached with them. So let's go through and let's group stuff that is similar. Everything that has a x squared, I'm going to circle it. So x squared, I'm going to circle. Everything that has a regular x with a coefficient, I'm just going to box it. So we box the 3x, and that stuff that just has a plain x in there, there's a 2x. And anything that does not have a variable, we're just going to put an underline. So we underline 4, and we're going to underline the negative 3. So we bring those together, we see that there's a 1 in front of each of those x squared. So 1x squared plus 1x squared gives you 2x squared. Next we look and we see we have 3x and 2x. So let's add those. 3x plus 2x gives us 5x. And then finally, our underlined terms are just the numbers with no variables. We have a 4 and a negative 3. We say 4 minus 3, we have a positive 1. Okay, if you look at example C, we will go through and do the same steps we have been doing. We're in a group. So anything that has an x squared, we'll circle. So we circle negative x squared. Nothing else with an x squared attached to it, so that's all we have to circle for that. Alright, anything that has just a regular x with a coefficient, we're going to box. So let's box this 5x right here. Anything else with just an x, the 6x. Anything else that does not have a variable, let's group that with an underline. So stuff that is circled, just that negative 2x squared, bring it on down. Anything that's boxed, let's combine those. So we have 5x plus 6x. We combine those, we get 11x. And finally, things that are just underlined that have no variable, we have negative 4 plus 4. We combine those, we get 0. Next, let's talk about examples of subtracting. We refer back to our notes from the beginning. It says to subtract polynomials, change the signs of the terms of the polynomial being subtracted, and then combine all like terms. So let's follow those guidelines. Much like when we were adding polynomials, we have two different terms, and what's separating them instead of an addition sign is the subtraction sign. So what we mean by change the signs, it's kind of like go through and distribute that negative 1 across everything inside the parentheses next to the negative, or the subtraction. So when we do that, we have 5x plus 8. We just bring that first term on down. Then we'll just distribute this negative 1 across, so negative 1 times 2x minus 1 times 7. All we did was distribute the negative 1 times 7 to get this term right here. Let's go through and simplify. So we have 5x plus 8. We still have not touched that term yet. I'm going to simplify negative 1 times 2x as a negative 2x. Negative 1 times 7 is a negative 7. So let's go through and group things that are similar, things that have x's with a circle. So we'll circle the 5x, and we'll circle the negative 2x. And things that do not have a variable associated with them, we'll just underline. So let's bring this together. A 5x minus 2x, or just 5 minus 2 is 3. Let's attach that x back with it. Right? And then 8 minus 7 is a positive 1. And that's your answer for that. So let's look at B. We have that negative 1 right there in front, we can say, and we want to distribute to everything inside the parentheses. So when we do that, let's copy that first term on down. That first term was 2x squared plus 8x minus 4. Let's distribute that 1 across. We have negative 1 times x squared minus 1 times 7x minus 1 times a negative 5. But we just wrote, so we have 2x squared plus 8x minus 4. Negative 1 times x squared is a minus x. Minus 1 times 7x is a negative 7x, and then a minus times a negative is a positive. 1 times 5 is 5. Let's go through like we did earlier, and let's group things together with similar terms. So everything has an x squared, I'm going to circle, so 2x squared, and I see a minus x squared, so I'm going to circle that. Everything that just has a regular x with a 1 exponent, or just x, I want a box. So I box the 8x, and I'm going to box the minus 7x. And everything that does not have a variable associated with it, just put an underline. Let's go through and combine like terms. So 2x squared minus, we can say that's really a 1x squared. So 2 minus 1 is just 1. Then bring our x squared on down. We have 8x minus 7x, so let's work with these plain x's. We have 8 minus 7 is 1, and then don't forget our x attached to it. And then finally we have minus 4 plus 5, and we're just going to be left with a positive 1. So there's your final answer. You can also rewrite, if you like, just x squared plus x plus 1, if you like. Finally, let's look at part C. So let's start off by saying there's that negative 1 out in front. We're going to distribute it across everything inside the parentheses. Let's rewrite this first term, 6x plus 3. Now let's distribute that 1 across. So negative 1 times negative 2x squared minus 1 times 3x minus 1 times a positive 4. And let's go through and simplify even further. So we have 6x plus 3. We haven't touched that first term. Okay, a minus times a minus is a positive 2x squared. Minus times a positive is a minus 3x. And then a minus times positive is a minus 4. Let's go through and group similar terms. Anything that has an x squared, let's circle. I believe that's all we're going to have for that term. Everything that's just a regular x, it's box. So we box the 6x and the negative 3x. Anything without just a variable attached, just underline. Alright, now let's simplify everything with similar grouping. So let's just bring that 2x squared down since we have nothing else to work with it. Okay, and everything with boxes, 6x minus 3x, so we're going to be left with a positive 3x. We just added the 6 minus 3, we get 3, and then we brought our x across with it. 3 minus 4, that's just negative 1. So there's your final answer. Now, let's finally conclude the video with examples of using both addition and subtraction. Okay, so for example A right here, we have 9x minus 4 minus the term 8x plus 3. As we did before, look at that, it's minus 1 out in front. We want to distribute to everything inside the parentheses. That's how we're going to change the signs. So let's bring the first term on down, 9x minus 4. Okay, now let's distribute that 1 across, so we have 1 times 8x minus 1 times 3. Let's go through and simplify. So we have 9x minus 4, and then minus 1 times 8x, we have a minus 8x. Minus 1 times 3, we have a negative 3. Grouping things that are similar, we're going to box the 9x and the negative 8x to have just plain x. Look at the negative 4 minus 3, that's going to be a minus 7. So the answer is x minus 7 for the example A. Okay, for B, we have something a bit more complicated. As you see, there's a positive term being subtracted by a term plus a positive term. So what we want to do is say that there's a 1 out in front of that, one negative, a 1 out in front of that term, so we're going to distribute the negative 1 across everything in the parentheses. So just rewrite everything that has not been affected by the negative. So I'm going to write the first and third term out. And there's quite a bit going on, so we have to be very careful. So let's distribute that negative 1. So we're going to have negative 1 right here in the center, minus 1 times 4x minus 1 times 9. Okay, for the next line, let's go through and simplify what we get when multiplying by that negative 1 across everything. So we have 4x squared minus 2x plus 3 minus 1 times 4x is a minus 4x. Minus 1 times 9 is a minus 9. Plus 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. Since there's a lot going on, I'm going to change colors to a blue to group our belongings. So everything with an x squared, let's circle. So I circled 4x squared. I'm going to circle 2x squared. Everything with just a plain x, I'm just going to box around. So I'm going to box the negative 2x, the negative 4x, and the positive 3x. Everything not associated with a variable, we'll just have a line under it. So let's do that. Now let's group everything. Let's combine everything in the groupings. So 4x squared plus 2x squared. That's going to leave us with 6x squared. Everything in these boxes for just the regular x. Let's see, minus 2x minus 4x. So that gives us negative 6x plus 3x. So we're left with negative 3x. Okay, 3 minus 9 plus 1. 3 minus 9 is minus 6 plus 1 is minus 5. And that is your answer. Okay, and finally, let's conclude the video with example C. As you see, there is a minus out with this, so let's place that 1 and we're going to distribute the negative 1 across everything found in the parentheses. And just rewrite everything else you see. So minus 1 times x squared minus 1 times the 4x minus 1 times minus 3, and that's a positive 4x. That was a minus 3, so I'm going to denote it right there. So let's go through and simplify. We have a minus x squared plus 3 minus x squared after simplifying that. Alright, and then a minus 4x after simplifying that term, and then a minus 1 times a minus 3 gives us a positive 3 plus 4x. Now we're ready to go through and group similar items. Everything with an x squared I'm going to circle. So I circled negative x squared. I'm going to circle that next negative x squared. Everything with just a regular x I'm going to box. So I'll box that negative 4x and the positive 4x. Everything else with just a non-variable associated with I'm going to underline. Okay, now I want to go through and simplify the similar terms. So minus 8x, excuse me, minus x, and put a 1 right there to remind us. So negative 1x squared minus 1x squared, we have negative 2x squared. For the boxes, minus 4x plus 4x, that gives us 0. So those two cancel out actually. So 3 plus 3 finally just gives us 6. And that is the answer.